In this video I'm going to talk a little bit about a music video which I've recently finished called Rise Another Leaf. This was made for my brother's song of the same name. Now this isn't a visual effects channel, mostly because visual effects isn't really my main thing. There are many other people out there who are far better at it than me, and I can thoroughly recommend Andrew Kramer's Video Copilot website, which basically taught me everything I know. So if you want to know how to do this stuff, just go and check them out, they're fantastic. Now I do use a lot of their products to make this video, but I wanted to talk a little bit about how we made it, because it was all done on a very low budget. I mean, we don't have any money for this. I basically just filmed Tom on a green screen and then spend months in front of a computer creating shots out of the footage I've created. Now, of course, if you've ever seen any DVD extras, behind the scenes footage, you'll have seen green screen before, you'll have seen compositing, so it's not particularly unusual these days. Everybody understands how it works. The reason I've included it here though is because I think it's interesting to see how you can get from quite humble beginnings to something that looks hopefully quite good. This was all shot in my mum's back garden, just on the patio. We just had a simple stand with some green screen, but I'm quite pleased with the way this eventually came out. And I think it's just interesting to see these days how tools like this are available to just the average consumer. Years back it used to be the province of the industrial lights and magics of this world, who only really had access to these types of tools. But these days anybody can do it for a couple of £100. So I think it's quite interesting to see where you can get to just with the technology available. The original idea we had for the video involved a large steampunk mechanism which sort of drove the heavens and the cosmos. Tom's song is one of three, which he calls the Time Traveller's Suite, so it's about someone travelling through time searching for their lost love. Now, Tom's songs always have a narrative, they're always about something, but I always completely ignore that narrative. The reason I do that really is because I'm more interested in the images that the song calls to mind when I listen to it. So the videos we come up with, I mean, we've done a few now. We've done Beast of the Air and Spinning the Compass, which are two of the more recent ones. And the images and the visuals in the videos often don't bear a hell of a lot of resemblance to what songs are actually about. But like I say, that's just because they're the images that come to my mind when I listen to the song, and the images that the song conjured up when I first listened to it. So in this case, we had that overarching idea of a mechanism that would sort of drive the heavens and the planets, and obviously there is a time travel theme to the video. So I had an idea that the time travel mechanism that Tom turns on in the video could perhaps somehow disrupt that mechanism of the heavens and start to cause things to collapse and fall apart. Of course, this also gave me the opportunity to use some of the steampunk items that I've created over the years. I talk a little bit more about these in a separate video, so click on the link in the bottom right hand corner there if you're interested in learning a little bit more. But yeah, it was nice to get some of these out and give them a bit of an airing and actually put them to use, because I've only really worn them at events previously. There's also a running joke in Steampunk that you shouldn't arbitrarily add gears to things if they don't have any particular functional use. There's even quite an amusing song that's been written about it. So I'm afraid I have actually committed that sin. As you can probably see in the video, I've added cogs to absolutely everything. So they're even in his DNA. So sorry about that, but you can tell it's Steampunk because there's a cog stuck on everything. One of the main ideas I had for the video was that there would be a shot where the camera pans around Tom and the fabric of reality would fall apart and he would come into this sort of, I don't know, time travel vortex warp type dimension. And what I wanted to have was the fabric of reality to sort of come apart, maybe as though it were made of tiles, and what you would see would be mechanisms behind those tiles pulling it away. I don't know if you've ever played the game Portal, but you see it sometimes in the Aperture Science Laboratory where these little robot arms come out and move the walls about. I kind of had a similar idea that these mechanisms could perhaps pull reality apart and then recombine it as the time travel device worked. That idea sort of came and went, but we always had this idea of having the camera pan around Tom as he went from one dimension to another. So we were faced with the problem of how do you actually achieve that, and originally I was thinking maybe we could go down to a green screen studio and film it there. You know, I could move the camera physically around Tom and get that sort of look. But we did want quite a smooth panning shot, and you know, I don't have a Steadicam or any particularly expensive camera equipment. So we're faced with the problem of how to get that panning shot working. And what we eventually came up with was this, which was to stick Tom on an office chair in the garden in front of a green screen, stick the camera on a tripod, then I'd lie on the floor and spin him as he acted. And it actually came out fairly well. Now you can see here the finished shot versus the footage of what we're actually doing, and I'm really including it just because it looks really funny. But I actually thought this actually turned out to be quite an effective way of doing things, because you've got smooth motion because the chair's got a bearing in it, so it can move smoothly, and the camera's steady because it's on a tripod. And we also shot a few handheld as well. What I then did was to take the footage into After Effects, motion track it if I needed to. We had a few takes. One was handheld, the other on a tripod. So if it was handheld, I could motion track that shot and just get the motion of the camera. But what I then had to do was manually figure out how the background was rotating and put that in manually. So there's a bit of experimentation required here, and I actually think in the final shot I've got the background moving too quickly perhaps, but I think amidst all the chaos and destruction and stuff like that, it kind of works quite well. Now, I'm not Industrial Light and Magic, you know, I do all this stuff on a desktop computer, so there's a certain level of quality you can attain in doing that. Nevertheless, I'm quite pleased with the way this has come out. We actually started working on this 2 years ago, and as with many of my projects, I have moments of intense work, so I spent months and months creating shots, but then I didn't touch it for 6 months. So we never actually released the video when Tom's album originally came out. In the 2 years since, Tom's been signed to a record label, and we've now come around to actually remaster the album and re-release it under that label. So 2 years later, we're actually now come full circle and come back to actually finishing the video. So that was quite handy in a sense, because it's also given me 2 years of experience to practice and perfect the techniques I'm using here. And in that time, I've actually created a few more music videos. One of them is a music video called Cold Black Stars for a death metal band that I know called Dead Beyond Buried. You can see some of the footage for that here. So I was able to use some of the techniques here and incorporate them into this video. Anyway, that's it from me, so click on the link at the bottom right there if you want to watch the video in full, and I'll see you next time.
So rise another leaf, fall another sunrise, I find the love that once found me, and melts another fall another empire, I bring the whole thing down to its knees. So rise another leaf, fall